So, in this video, we're going to talk about a potential suggestion I will make to the devs. A Yugoslavian tech tree has been talked about a lot on the forums, and I really like the ideas people there have, but I think it would be better to add a Balkan tech tree instead. So, I made one, both for air and ground. But in this video, we'll only look at air. The tech tree includes 121 aircraft, and a rather large number of those are not in-game. This tech tree has a very unorthodox structure. Instead of having the tech tree being role-based, it's instead country-based for the most. The tech tree includes both forms of Yugoslavia, the Kingdom, and the Federal Republic. So 2 Yugoslavias. The 2 Yugoslavian sub-trees later transitions into Serbian ones. Then we also have 2 Croatias, one from the independent state of Croatia and one from modern-day Croatia. Then we have the Greek sub-tree, taking over the Croatian attack sub-tree, since the Croatian attack tree ends at 3.3 and only includes one attack jet at 7.3. And we also have a Bulgarian sub-tree and a premium Squadron event tree. I will go over every nation at these timestamps shown on screen, and you're free to skip in between them. So, let's start with the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. Starting with the Kingdom of Yugoslavia, the first aircraft at reserve is the Avia BH-33. It was used as a fighter trainer in the Air Force of the Kingdom Yugoslavia and featured 4 machine guns. Next up is the French Breguet 19 fighter bomber. It was equipped with 1 front-facing machine gun and 2 in the tail. The next one is a plane already in game, the Fury Mark II, and below that we find the Icarus, IK-2, with 2 small-caliber machine guns and 1 20mm. It was built just before the war and was one of the first domestically produced Yugoslavian monoplanes. Next up on the attack line of the Yugo tech tree, we find the German Do-16 Wal, translated to whale in English. It's a German flying boat mainly built for transport and reconnaissance, but it could be armed with bombs, and it also had turrets to defend itself. This plane has a lot of potential to become a meme vehicle if it gets added. Next up is the Blenheim Mark I. It was a British light bomber that we can also see in game, and it is, as you can see, marked with a plus. This is because the Yugoslavs upgraded it, allowing for more bombs. What I know, there are no official records stating a name change for this upgrade, so I just added a plus to the name. Next up is the Hurricane Mk1. It was used both before the Yugoslavian invasion and after. Before, as defensive fighters, after as partisan fighters to hunt down the Axis forces. Now to the Do-22KJ, a German Yugoslavian export float plane that was used for bombing. It had front-facing machine guns and in turrets, and it had the ability to carry light bombs. Below the Hurricane, we find the Potez 630, a French twin-engine fighter. This is also a plane already in-game, armed with 2 20mm front-facing cannons and a light machine gun rear-facing. Next up, the SM-79 at 2.3. An Italian bomber armed with 12.7mm front-facing machine guns and 4 7.92mm ones in turrets. Then we have the Bf-109E3, an early Messerschmitt with good agility and decent weapons. The Do-17K late is next. It was first a normal export variant of the Do-17 air defense fighter and bomber, but the Yugoslavs performed big modifications to the plane. It had better engines, French ones actually, that gave it increased performance compared to the normal Do-17. The Yugoslavs also put new weapons on the vehicle, including 13.2mm Browning MGs and a 20mm Hispano. One of these were put in the windshield, offering easier aiming. The Yugoslav Dornier also had a bigger bomb load of over 1,200 kilos, and some of them even carried cameras on board. In short, almost every piece of important equipment got replaced by new and better ones. Next is the Yugoslavian Rogozarski IK-3. A fun fact about this plane is that it's actually called IKZ, but since the Cyrillic letter for Z looks like a numeral 3, it is more commonly known as the IK-3. It was, however, armed with one 20mm nose-mounted cannon and two light machine guns. It was actually more maneuverable than the early Bf-109s, and even better than it, in many ways, but it sadly never got to show its true potential, since the invasion in 1941 screwed production up. Even though only 12 were built, it still had an amazing air-to-air kill ratio. Now to another domestic aircraft, the Zmaj R1. It's a bomber produced by Zmaj Aircraft. It featured two 20mm front-facing cannons and four 7.92mm front-facing machine guns, and of course bombs, up to 1,600 kilograms internally. This would be a fun aircraft to add, not just as a bomber, but as an interceptor, kinda like Sweden's Saab 18 series. The last plane we can find used by the Kingdom of Yugoslavia is the Icarus Orkan. It was also a domestically produced bomber. It had three 20mm machine guns and three 7.921s. It could have a total bomb load of just over 400 kilos. This might seem inefficient if it gets added, but I think it would be a great interceptor, since it has a great top speed of just under 600 kilometers per hour. That's actually it for the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. Let's look at the first aircraft of SFR Yugoslavia, starting off with the J-20 Kragui, a Yugoslavian military plane with a lot of different roles, including the anti-partisan role, or COIN as it's called. It was armed with two 7.7mm machine guns and had the ability to carry medium to high-caliber rockets and light bombs. It was quite popular among its pilots and ground personnel since it was agile and easy to fly and maintain. The Kragui is also a Yugoslavian movie star, since it played a major role in the movie Partizanska Eskadrila. Next is the Soko 522, a Yugoslavian trainer with two wing-mounted 50 cals. It could also be armed with light bombs and heavy rockets. It played some German roles in the same movie mentioned earlier. After that, we find the Spitfire Mark 9 that you can find in game. It comes armed with 20mm and 7.7mm. These Spitfires were given from the UK to assist the Yugoslav partisans and remained in service after the war. Next, we find the P-47 Thunderbolt, which you can also find in-game. It comes armed with 8.50 caliber machine guns and packs a punch. These P-47s were supplied by the United States to support the Yugoslav partisans, and they remained in service even after the war. Fun fact, the Yugoslav P-47's gun sights were recycled to new jet programs in the 50s. Now to Cold War Yugoslavia. We'll start off with the Icarus S-49A at 4.7. It's a really good-looking plane from the late 40s. It was introduced after the war when the Yugoslavs wanted a new domestic aircraft and not just Soviet ones. A domestic aircraft was really needed after the Tito-Stalin split, in short, a beef between the leader of Yugoslavia and the leader of the Soviet Union. Anyways, it had a good top speed, good agility, and good armament consisting of a nose-mounted 20mm and 250 cals. The later version, the S-49B, was an idea of producing the plane with a Daimler-Benz engine, but it was sadly never built. If we hop down a step to the S-49C, we can see that it has a slightly higher BR. This is because it was now all metal, thus more aerodynamic and faster. It also came with a new French V12 engine, pushing the top speed up to about 700 kilometers an hour. I'd love this plane in War Thunder. Below that, we find the Icarus 452M, an experimental Yugoslavian super-small interceptor with a vertical dual-engine setup and four nose-mounted 50 cals. If this aircraft gets added, it would be the smallest in game, even smaller than the BL, and an interesting one to say the least. And now the T-33. This is an American trainer aircraft armed with 50 cals. It's unclear if it actually was armed in the Yugoslavian service, but it likely was. Then we have the L-10. It's an American F-84G that we can find in-game, armed with 6 50 cals and the ability to carry a lot of rockets and bombs. Below that, we find the L-11. It's your average Canadian Sabre with 6 50 cals. It's unclear if it carried missiles or not, but if it did, it would carry the R-3S. The next aircraft is a rather interesting one. This is the L-13, an American fighter without guns. But what did it have if not guns? Good question. It had a deployable rocket rack instead of guns with 24 air-to-air rockets. It might have been able to carry missiles too in Yugoslav service, but it's a bit uncertain. If not, it should have a lower battle rating of maybe 7.7 or 8.0. Next up is the G2 Galeb. It's a domestic trainer and light attack aircraft built by Soko. Galeb means seagull in Serbo-Croatian. Even though it was domestic, it actually shared quite a bit of parts with British jets from the time. It was armed with 250 cals and hardpoints up to 300 kilos. Now to the J-21 Jastreb, not to be confused with the Swedish J-21. Anyways, this is also a domestic light attack aircraft with 8 hard points that could carry napalm, rockets, and bombs. Jastreb's offensive armament consists of 3 50 cals. The next aircraft is the Ikarusti 451mm Strzelin 2, a Yugoslav twin-engine light attack and aerobatic trainer aircraft armed with twin 20mm cannons and high-caliber rockets. Even though it's a prototype aircraft, I think it's valid enough to get added to the tree. Now the L-12. This is your average Soviet MiG-21 F-13 that you can also find in game. Low ammo count, but a 30mm cannon, no real radar, 2 R-3S Sidewinder copies, and a weaker engine than the other variants. A simplified MiG with other words. Next up is the L-14. This is a MiG-21 FPM that can carry up to 4 R-3S missiles. While not having an internal cannon, the L-14 often carried a center-mounted 23mm cannon pod. It also had a much better radar. Next, we find the G4 Super Galeb, meaning Super Seagull in Serbo-Croatian. It's an advanced domestic trainer and ground attack aircraft. It has 8 hard points, whereas one of them mounts a 23mm cannon pod. It also has the ability to carry 2 R-60 missiles and Mavericks. We find the J-22 Orao. It's a Yugoslav-Romanian ground attack aircraft. As you can see, it's pretty similar to the IAR-93. And that is not a coincidence, since it was developed in collaboration with the developers of the IAR-93. It's a non-afterburning twin-engine aircraft with a great weapon selection, including Mavericks, a 23mm cannon pod, high-caliber rockets, and many types of bombs. It also might have carried the PL-5 missile, although not confirmed. Next up, the L-15M. This is your ordinary MiG-21 MF that we can find in game. Better weapons, better radar, better engine, better everything, even countermeasures. Then the J-22B Orao 2. This is an upgraded Orao with twin afterburning engines. Some sources state that it could carry 2 to 6 R-60 missiles. It also had countermeasures and an RWR. Now to the L-17. This is your regular MiG-21 Biz with 6 R-60 MKs, 4 R-3Rs, and internal countermeasures. The last plane at 12.7 is the L-18. This is a MiG-29 9.12B. Yugoslavia was actually the first European nation to receive the MiG-29. It could carry R-27s and R-60 MK missiles and had a 30mm cannon. That was it for the modern Yugoslavian tech tree. There aren't actually that many aircraft not yet mentioned through Yugoslavia, but the first aircraft it would bring to the tech tree is the Lasta 95. It's a Serbian trainer and light attack aircraft from 2010. It might sound weird to put it in the same BR as 90-year-old aircraft, but it's really nothing special. It has no internal weapons, but 2 hard points that can equip 50 cal gun pods, or rockets. Now to the G4MD Super Galeb used by Serbia. It has a lot of new avionics and some new weapons upgrades. Instead of having two R-60s, it now carries two R-60MKs and also countermeasures, giving it a BR of 10.0 instead of 9.3 as the other tech tree version. And the last aircraft is the MiG-29SM, an upgraded MiG-29 with new weapon compatibility. It can now, for example, carry the R-73 and R-77, along with the different kinds of R-27 missiles. That's actually it for Serbia, although they've ordered Rafales, just as Croatia. But unlike Croatia, they have not yet received them and are therefore not ready to receive them in-game. Speaking of Croatia... And yeah, this is one of the most copy-pasty nations within the tech tree. But it has a good variety. At reserve starting of, with the independent state of Croatia, we find the Avia BH-33. It was used as a fighter trainer in the Air Force of the Kingdom Yugoslavia and featured 4 machine guns. It was captured during the Yugoslav invasion, and the independent state of Croatia, NDH, received them. At the attack line, we find the Rogozarski R-100 featuring 2 front-facing machine guns and could carry bombs up to 200 kilos. Next up is the Fury Mark II, which is already in game. After that, we find the Amiot 143, a very interesting-looking French bomber. It featured 4 machine guns in defensive positions and had a total bomb load of 1,600 kilos. Might seem OP for its BR of 1.3, but keep in mind that its top speed only is 300 kilometers per hour. Folded behind that, we find 2 other aircraft. The first one is the Caproni 310, which is a fast Italian bomber with 2 front-facing and 1 defensive machine gun. It had a total bomb load of up to 500 kilos, and behind that is the slightly worse Caproni 311 with 1 front-facing and 2 separate machine guns in turrets and a total bomb load of 400 kilos. Let's go to the fighter tree again. This is the CR-42, an Italian biplane we can find in-game with 2 front-facing 50 calibers. If we go back to the strike tree, we find the Do-17E and Z. The E variant is an earlier Do-17, with only 1 front-facing MG and 2 turrets along with a 500-kilo bomb load. The Z variant was the same-ish, but featured 7 turrets and a slightly better top speed. Croatia received these Dorniers from Germany during the war. If we hop back to the fighter line, we find the Icarus IK-2 with 2 small caliber machine guns and 1 20mm. It was built just before the war and was one of the first domestically produced Yugoslavian monoplanes and was also captured by NDH. The next strike line aircraft is the Do-17K Late. It was a heavily modified Dornier 17 export variant with almost every component replaced. It had better engines, much better guns, and even cameras on board. The armament consisted of 150 cal mounted in the windshield and 120mm mounted in the nose. It also had 2 turrets and a bomb load of 1,200 kilos. Behind that, in a folder, is the BR-20, an Italian bomber with a total capacity of 1,600 kilos in bombs. Let's go back to the fighters again, where we can see the MS-406. This is a French fighter with a 20 mil and 7.5 mils. NDH were gifted these from Germany after the invasion of France. The Blenheim Mk1 featured up to 5 guns spread out in turrets and 1 in the front right wing and a total bomb load of 540 kilos. The next plane is the G-50 Freccia, an Italian monoplane with 250 caliber guns and the ability to carry 2 bombs. Let's finish talking about the early striker tree. So, the first of the last 3 aircraft for now is the SM-79, an Italian triple-engine bomber with up to 1,200 kilos worth of bombs. It had a 50 cal in the front and a total of 4 guns in turrets. After that, we find the Kant Z-1007 Alcoin. This is also a triple-engine Italian bomber, but this time a total bomb load of 2,200 kilos. The last aircraft for now is the familiar Ju-87D-5 Stuka. It had a total bomb load of 1,800 kilos and could also carry gun pods. Internally, it had two 20mm autocannons and a double 7.92mm turret. Let's go back to the last four fighters of the independent state of Croatia's Air Force. This is the C-202 Folgore, an Italian fighter featuring 250 calibers and two 7.7mm in the front. It had an amazing flight performance and a top speed of 600 kilometers per hour. Below that is the classic Bf-110G-2 with two 30mm autocannons in the front as well as 7.921s in the back. This thing could carry gun pods up to 37mm and bombs up to a ton, but it was mainly used as a fighter within the NDH. The next aircraft is another Italian one, the C-205. It was armed with two front-facing 20mm and 250 calls. It also showed an amazing flight performance. The last aircraft for the independent state of Croatia is the Bf-109 G-14. It came armed with both 20 and 13mm and could also carry gun pods up to 2 times 30mm. That's it for the independent state of Croatia. Let's take a quick look at Slovenia. Slovenia's Air Force doesn't actually have any jets, but what it does have is the PC-9M, and so does Croatia. But Croatia's PC-9s are only aerobatic, as they lack weapon stations. So I added the PC-9M from Slovenia to Croatia's subtree. Now the PC-9M is used as a trainer, aerobatic aircraft, and a light attack aircraft within the Air Force of Slovenia. That means that it can carry light bombs, rockets, and gun pods, probably of a 50 cal or 20mm caliber. And since it is a turboprop aircraft, it has a good climb rate, good acceleration, and a decent top speed. Therefore, I put it at 5.3, but it might be way too high. But I guess Gaijin would, if it theoretically gets added balance it afterwards. What do you think? Here we find the MiG-21 BSD, a Croat modified MiG-21 BIS. It was modified to fit the standards of NATO. I was very excited when I first read that it was NATO interoperable, but it turned out that it was just for avionics and not for weapons. Could you imagine a MiG-21 carrying AMRAAMs, or maybe even Sidewinders, or even better, an Iris-T? But that is sadly not the case, and it was armed with up to 6 R-60 Mks and other missiles, including the R-3R. The next aircraft is the MiG-21 UMD. This aircraft has a rather unique livery. I find it very cool. However, the MiG-21 UMD is an advanced armed trainer version of the MiG-21. I read somewhere that it could carry the R-73, which explains the BR of 12.0. These trainer MiGs also got the same avionics upgrade as the MiG-21 BIS. But if it didn't carry R-73s, it could instead be folded behind the MiG-21 BIS-D and put at 11.3. Then it would be a regular MiG-21 BIS, but with better survivability since it has 2 pilots. Moving down to the last aircraft of modern-day Croatia. This is the Rafale F-3R. It's the same version of the Rafale as France has in-game currently. Croatia received these aircraft last year to retire their MiG-21s. By adding Croatia through the Balkan tech tree, France wouldn't be the only nation to have the beautiful Rafale. We find the J-20 Kragui folded behind the CR-42. It's a light multi-purpose Yugoslavian aircraft that was used by modern-day Croatia in the 90s. It had 2 front-facing machine guns and could carry rockets and bombs. Next up is a real jump to 7.3, where we find the G2 Galeb. It's a domestically produced Yugoslavian trainer and light attack aircraft built by SOKO. Galeb means seagull in Serbo-Croatian. Even though it was domestic, it actually shared quite a bit of parts with British jets from the time. It was armed with 250 cals and hardpoints up to 300 kilos. It was in service for a short period in the 90s to early 2000s as a trainer and attack aircraft. Croatia captured these former Yugoslavian planes during the war and used them for a short period. That's actually it for the Croatian tech tree. Before we go over to the country of Greece, I kindly ask you to subscribe. I'm only about 75 subscribers from reaching the requirement for the War Thunder Gaijin Partnership Program. And if I reach it, with a lot of luck, these ideas along with the new game mode idea might get more attention at the dev department. Thanks for watching and subscribing. Let's go to Greece. Although the Hellenic Air Force doesn't have its own domestically produced aircraft, it's still quite unique. Since it didn't have a lot of unique stuff during the World War, I decided to start at 3.3, below the Croatian attack line. This makes sense later. Anyways, the first aircraft of the Hellenic Air Force is the Wellington Mark 10. It's a British bomber with a total capacity of 1,800 kilograms of bombs. Below that, we find the SB-2C-5, an American dive bomber with a total capacity of 1,500 kilos. It also had 20 mils in the front and also a rearward-facing turret with dual 7.62 mils. Next up is the Spitfire F Mark 16, a British fighter with 4 offensive front-facing weapons, including 20 millimeters. The Hellenic Spits were often outfitted with the tropical modifications since they originated from the Middle East. The next one is the upgraded Spitfire LF Mark 19. This one has a better engine, pushing the max speed to well over 700 kilometers an hour. The first jet-powered aircraft of the Hellenic Air Force is the T-37B Tweety Bird. It's basically a trainer variant of the more famous Cessna A-37 Dragonfly. It's unclear if the Greek one carried any guns, but it most likely was able to, through the 2 hardpoints. In that case, it would most likely be 7.92 millimeter machine guns. It would therefore have a low BR of 6.3, kind of like the Strikemaster, but Balkan American. The next plane is the F-84F. It's your regular Thunderjet with 650 calibers. Behind that, in a folder, is the RF-84F Thunderflash, a photographic reconnaissance jet with 450 cals, according to the Hellenic Air Force. Now we've passed over to the Republic of Greece from the Kingdom of Greece. The first aircraft of the Republic of Greece is the F-102 Delta Dagger. This aircraft is an American interceptor, but it, like other jets at the time, had no gun. Instead, it had air-to-air rockets and the not-so-great Falcon missiles. The next aircraft is the A-7H, a Hellenic-modified A-7 Corsair, slow, heavy bomb load, and a 20mm rotary cannon. Below the Corsair is the F-5A, an American light fighter with 20 mils and 2 AIM-9Es and a bunch of different ground ordnances. The F-104G Starfighter is next up, also American, but this time, the doubled number of missiles. Next is the Mirage F-1C, a beautiful French fighter with 5 missiles and hard-hitting cannons. Below that, the F-4. In the later years of its service, it got sent to DASA, Germany, to receive an equivalent to the ICE upgrade the German F-4s received. This upgrade was called the Peace Icarus 2000 Standard, making it fit for AMRAAMs and better weapon systems, along with newer avionics. The second last aircraft is the French Mirage 2000-5 EGM. It's a French upgraded Mirage with Fox 3 capability. And after that, the F-16C, already in game. Now you might ask yourself, but where is the Rafale? And yes, that is a valid question. But since Croatia already has the Rafale in the tree, it's not really worth it in Gaijin's perspective to add another one. But you could technically add a Greek one behind the Croatian one in a folder, or maybe behind the Mirage 2000. My solution is that they add either that or a researchable skin for the Hellenic Rafales that you could obtain on the Croatian one. And Greece is going to be the first country taking the Balkan tech tree into the 5th generation with the F-35. The first aircraft is the PZL-43 Chaika. Bulgaria operated about 50 of these Polish reconnaissance bombers. They carried up to 700 kilograms of bombs and had 2 front-facing 7.7mm MGs. The next aircraft is the beautiful R-96 Soika. It featured a single 7.62mm MG in the nose and had a top speed of about 350 kilometers an hour. Good maneuverability, though. Next up is the Bulgarski KB-11 Fazan, a Bulgar-Italian Army liaison plane with two 7.92mm and up to 200 kilos worth of bombs and just a bit faster than the Chaika. The next one is the PZLP.24 Yastreb. This one is also Polish. The Yastreb carried a 20mm cannon and two smaller MGs, along with up to 100 kilos of bombs. The next one is the DR-10 Bekas, a Bulgarian prototype fighter bomber with 4 machine guns, 2 rearward-facing and 2 front-facing. Some sources say that it also had a 20mm in the nose hub and up to 500 kilos worth of bombs. Below that is the BF-109 E4 Strela. The E4 version already is in-game, not the Bulgarian, obviously, but it is in-game, and it has a good armament consisting of 2 20mm cannons and 2 light machine guns. Below the Strela, we find the B-135 Ljastovica, a Czech fighter armed with light machine guns and a 20mm. It was actually pretty fast for its time, and primarily used by Bulgaria. The next aircraft is the French D-520. It had an armament consisting of 4 light machine guns and 1 20mm. Below that, we find the Il-2M, a classic Soviet ground attacker with a very unique caliber that is the 23mm. Below that, we find the BF-109 G6 Strela, an upgraded BF-109. It came armed with both 20 and 13mm and could also carry gun pods up to 230mm. Next up, the Yak-9U that came armed with a 20mm and 250 cals. Then we have the IL-10, another Soviet ground attacker that featured 4 23mm front-facing cannons and 1 rear-facing 20mm. It could carry up to 600 kilos of suspended armament. The first jet for Bulgaria is the L-29 Delfin. It's a Czech trainer and light attack aircraft carrying 2 7.62mm front-facing machine guns and could also carry light rockets and bombs. The Delfin would act very similar to the British Strikemaster. Next up is the MiG-15 and 17. These two are early jets and do not carry missiles. Do not let this fool you, though, as their cannons sure are capable. Then we have the Il-28. This is a jet bomber, actually the only jet bomber the Balkan tech tree will receive. It came armed with 4 23mm cannons, of which 2 of them were in a rearward-facing turret. The biggest bomb it could carry was a 3-ton bomb. Next is the Yak-23. Still no missile for Bulgaria, but 2 capable cannons and an amazing flight performance. Now, the MiG-19PT. Finally, missiles. The MiG-19PT carried the reverse-engineered version of the American Sidewinder called the R-3S. Now, to the MiG-21F-13 that you can also find in-game. Low ammo count, but a 30mm cannon, no real radar, 2 R-3S Sidewinder copies, and a weaker engine than the other variants. A simplified MiG with other words. Now, behold the MiG. 21MF, sleeker, deadlier, and faster than the F-13. Better weapons, better everything, and a better experience. The next aircraft is the ground-pounding Su-25K, a pretty basic version of the Su-25. It carried R-60s and a bunch of different ground ordnances. It also had a pretty good 30mm cannon. The next aircraft is the MiG-23MF. The MiG-23MF could only carry 4 missiles. But on the other hand, it could at the same time carry more advanced missiles than the MiG-21 and Su-25, so it doesn't really matter. By the way, look at how strong this Balkan tech tree is at 11.0. 6 11.0 aircraft. Anyways, the Su-22M4 is next. It's just like the Su-25, a Soviet ground attack aircraft. Although it was designed for ground attack, it carries 6 missiles. The same number of missiles as the MiG-21. Now to the MiG-23MLD. This is an export version of the MiG-23ML. It carried R-24s and R-60s. In the future, if the Soviet MiG-25 gets added to War Thunder, the Bulgarian could get added too. Although, the turning radius was equivalent to that of the whole nation of Bulgaria itself. Jokes aside, not really that bad, but the turning radius was horrible on the 25th. Now to the MiG-29. The second last plane of the tech tree, the MiG-29 in Bulgarian usage came armed with up to 6 R-60s and up to 2 R-27s, which are amazing Fox 2s and 1s. Now, the last aircraft of the tech tree is the F-16 Block 70. Now, what BR it gets really depends on what weapons it will get. What Gaijin could do is adding it with weapons that already exist, like the AMRAAM and AIM-9Ms, like the Gripen got. Or they could wait until its more advanced weapons get added, like the AIM-9X and such. First up is the Bosnian stealth bomber. This is kinda added as a joke, but it got me thinking, wouldn't it be fun to have an April Fool's event where you just fly around in Piper Cubs throwing toilet paper at your opponents, both in air and air-to-ground combat? And if you receive a certain amount of points, you get to keep the glorious high-technological Bosnian stealth bomber. The next aircraft is the Junkers 87R2 from Bulgaria. It's the same as the premium in the German tech tree and would cost 280 Golden Eagles. The next aircraft is the Bulgarski Fazan, a Bulgar-Italian Army liaison plane used by Yugoslavia with two 7.92mm MGs and up to 200 kilos worth of bombs. This would probably be the premium plane you'd receive for free when choosing this nation as your first. The third premium would be the Greek Potez 633, B-2 Grek. It's an export-only variant of the French Potez 633 and was used as a bomber within the Hellenic Air Force. It would cost around 300 Golden Eagles. Below that, at rank 2, is the Hurricane Mark II, also used by the Hellenic Air Force. This version features 20mm cannons. At rank 3, we find the Bf-109 G-2. These were captured in modern-day Serbia, Yugoslavia in the 1940s by partisans. Later at rank 3 is the Spitfire Mark V-C. It was used by the Hellenic Air Force and had 4 20mm. These two would probably cost around 16 euros. Now to a rather interesting premium, the PC-9M. The Bulgarian PC-9M is used as a trainer, aerobatic aircraft, and could be used as a light attack aircraft. That means that it can carry light bombs, rockets, and 50 cal gun pods. And since it is a turboprop aircraft, it has a good climb rate, good acceleration, and a decent top speed. Therefore, I put it at 5.3, but it might be way too high. But I guess Gaijin would, if it theoretically gets added, balance it afterwards. It would probably be in the neighborhoods of 25 euros. The next aircraft is the Croatian IJ-21 Jastreb. This aircraft would be a squadron aircraft, therefore researchable for everyone, free from Golden Eagles. This specific IJ-21 was captured in the 90s by Croatia near Ubdina, Krajina. It was put into service for a short period before retiring. This would be the Balkans equivalent to the Squadron Mi-262. The Albanian MiG-15 is next up. Albania bought this aircraft second-hand from China. It would probably be a Golden Eagle vehicle, so it would probably cost around 6,000 Golden Eagles. Now to the 6th rank. The first jet we find here is the Albanian F-6. It's a Chinese MiG-19 and would probably cost around 8,000 Golden Eagles. Now to the G4MD Super Goleb used by Serbia. It has a lot of new avionics and some new weapons upgrades. Instead of having 2 R-60s, it now carries 2 R-60MKs and also countermeasures, giving it a BR of 10.0 instead of 9.3 as the tech tree version. This thing would hopefully be a pack, costing 45 euros. It's rare seeing those prices, but with a bit of luck we might see more mid and high tier packs. Now to rank 7, where we can find the Bulgarian MiG-21 BIS. It's your regular BIS with up to 6 R-60MKs. Now to rank 8. Here we can find the Su-25K Late. It's the current Su-25 used by Bulgaria, upgraded to carry new avionics, systems, and weapons, including the R-73E. It would be a squadron aircraft that everyone could research. I haven't actually found a good top-tier premium for the tech tree. So if you have any suggestions, leave them down below. And before you comment something with Turkey, it will not get added in this tech tree, since Italy already has a Turkish premium. It's therefore probably better to add more Turkish premiums to Italy. That was actually every plane of the Balkan tech tree. 123 aircraft in total. And you might ask yourself, where is Romania? Well, geographically, Romania isn't really that Balkan compared to other countries, but here comes the best part. Italy already has some Romanian vehicles, so I will actually make a video about a Romanian subtree to Italy. So stay tuned. Anyways, this project has taken me dozens of hours and a lot of effort, and the grand total of words ended up being 7,000, and the footage around 35 gigabytes. So I really do appreciate it if you leave me a like and if you'd subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and if you're interested in more projects, just stay tuned as I'm already working on a Yugoslav ground tree. See you then.